Hello, class. This is Gina Daniel again, and I'm going to be your instructor for the IT Automation training class. And this is presented by Onward Forms Community Outreach Services. I'm going to explain to you how to create a web form, and we're going to use HTML and CSS. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to start a new page in Notepad++. We're going to use a new sheet. All right, now we're going to save this as the HTML file. And this is going to be a form, contact form. And you want to make sure that you save it as HTML. Okay. Now our form is going to be a HTML5 form, so we want to use the element tag for that, which is exclamation doc type HTML. Now, I'm not going to type all of the code that we're going to be using because I have some code that I've already keyed in, and I'm just going to copy and paste that and explain to you what it does and show you how it works. So what we want to do first is we want to add a title to this page. So we're going to use the title tag. And I'm just going to copy and paste this. Now that's going to give us our header. And in the header, we want to put a title of the web page as well as the style for the page. And that's where the CSS styling is going to be. Now we need to add a body to this, because that's where the form code is going to go. Okay. Now, if we save this and load the page, so let's go to the page we just saved, which is contact. We're going to go localhost first. And then our web directory. And it's going to be contact form.html. Right? Now, there isn't anything visible here because we haven't put anything in the header or anything in the body, so it should be a blank page. But what you can see that we did do was we gave this web page a title, and that title is test form. So if you go back to your text editor, you'll see the title text form, and it's also printed here at the top of the web page. Now we want to add some elements to this. This web page is going to use a lot of input tags. And the input we want to use, we're going to use something like first name. Is going to be the name of this tag. We're also going to have a type. And the type is going to be text, because you're going to input text into that field. Now, this input needs to have a label. So we're going to label this first name. And put a closing tag for the label. Now, if we save this and we go to refresh it, we see input for first name. Now, when we want to separate the lines, like we don't want to have, and let me just put this for an example. Type when we submit this info, the name equals submit. Missed a spot there. And the value now. The submit tag is the only one that has to have a value, and the value is whatever you call this. This tag is what's going to show up on the tag itself, the label or the input itself. So let's go with submit. And we're going to save that. We go to label it. All right. Now, this is a submit button. Notice nothing happens because we haven't given this button any action. And that comes from the form tag. It's where you put an action and the method to perform that action. Now, the method that we're most likely going to use is a post. The difference between the post and the get actions or methods for action is the method of post. Information is hidden when you parse it to another page. And the information that's when you use a get method, the variables or the infinite information that you keyed in becomes visible in the browser, and you can see that here in the address line. Now, for the action, that is the destination of where you want the information you keyed in to be sent. So if you want it to be sent to the current page, then you would just leave the action blank or put in the name of the current page. If you want the information sent to another page, then you put in that page or web address or whatever address you want it to go to. Okay. Now I'm going to cut and paste information that I've already used from another example. And this is a web form. Now this has everything we need to do a web page. Now this is a table and it has all of our information. And I use the table because it structures it properly the way I like it. So let me copy and paste this information, these elements. Okay, so I can copy on top of this because we don't really need this anymore. All right, now this is how you would structure the tags because they're embedded inside of each one of these element tags. They're embedded into each other, so you want to step it down this way for proper structure. The division tag houses all of these other tags, and the definition or styling that we put here is going to affect everything on this page, on this in this code block. For instance, the color. The color is white here. So everything underneath this dev opening tag is going to be white. All of the text. And that's what the color applies to. Now the background color affects the dev tag itself, and that is going to be green. So let's load this so you can see it in the browser. Okay, so as you can see, this contact form, it has the elements that we wrote up, as well as the text area and a submit button. But it still doesn't do any action because we haven't told it to do anything at this point. All right. Now, let me explain some of this. On a couple of these table headers, I use a column span of 2. And what that means is you merge two cells together, just like you do with Excel. Now, you see down here where it says TD, that is the table data. In this row, the TR is a row, table row, has 2 fields for data, 2 cells for table data. Now, the header, if you change that to 1 and saved it, that information would only be keyed into 1 header cell. But we want to merge it because we want this to be 1 line. So you change it back to 2 and save, and that will make the column span or the entire line merge those 2 cells, and that's what we want. Now, the text area is different from the other input elements. The table area has rows and columns. This 5 represents how many rows, and the COLS references how many columns in that input box. Now, the submit button, again, this value, because you don't have to have submit, you can have enter, but it behaves like a submit because it is a submit button. When you go to refresh, it changes to enter. So you can use enter or submit or send or whatever you want to use, but you would make that change in the value. Now, the table needs a border. It doesn't have to have a border, but all of these beautiful lines that you see is because of the border. And you can change the border if you like. And there's more information about that on 3wschools.com. Now, I just want to mention one more thing about this table. The lines for the table, this is a 1. You can collapse them if you want. These input tags, you can key in data for it, but nothing happens because we haven't configured the action for it yet. But we can have where anyone who uses the form has to submit information into the field. So we do that by adding a required note in there. We want to add the required property and save it. And we go to refresh this. And you'll get a message that says, please fill out this field, because we added that property where it had to be, the restriction that it had to be filled out in order to submit the form. Okay, and this is all that I have today about keying in this form, in these elements. And again, if you have any questions, you can send me an email or give me a call, and I'll be happy to go over this with you again. Let me show you what that information is. Okay. All right. And this is my contact information. So you can email me at gina.daniel@onwardforms.org, or you can call the main line, and I'll be happy to assist you with completing your forms if you have any questions. Or please bring your questions to class on Saturday, and I'll see you then. Thank you for watching.